Shalom. All praises go to the Most High Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. Dhamma on the Son to the elders of great millstones for the teachings of the scriptures. And Shalom to all the Akim across the world. Pray not be talking to the elect. I came across an article again called Robert Gallo, the man who created AIDS. And there is a video linked on the bottom of the page. That video, I'm going to just load it up separately. Plus, I put the description, a link in the description. But I'm going to load it up separately on this site right here. Okay, this is the guy who made AIDS. You can check his face out. AIDS has definitely got AIDS has got a face now. This week in California, a lawyer is suing the U.S. government, claiming that the HIV/AIDS virus is a man-made virus developed and manufactured in the United States with the knowledge of the U.S. government on June 27th. Prominent lawyer and AIDS researcher Dr. Boyd E. Graves, J.D., will finally present his case, number 02 CF 0239 before Judge Jeffrey T. Miller in a San Diego court, claiming that the HIV virus, the virus that causes AIDS, is a virus that was manufactured in American laboratories between 1962 and 1978. On November 27 last year, the Office of the Secretary of the United States Department of Health and Human Services granted Dr. Graves 6 days to file suit in the United States federal court against the U.S. government. Graves claimed he has hundreds of government documents proving HIV/AIDS was designed as a biological terrorism against African Americans. His action was initially brought in the U.S. Supreme Court, case number 009587. See? These cave people hate your guts. When are our people going to wake up? Know what I'm saying? Anyway, researchers have long suspected that HIV arose as a result of a viral cross-species jump. Yeah, meaning, from primates to humans, monkey fucking, basically. The theory is that through contact with chimpanzee blood, possibly through hunting them and eating the meat, humans were exposed to simian immunodeficiency virus, SIV, which mutated into human immunodeficiency virus, HIV. Not everyone agrees with this theory, and recently it has been challenged by Dr. Graves. Let me see who this Dr. Graves is. Yeah, Dr. Graves, who believes he has discovered the most terrifying inference about HIV/AIDS. Graves claims it has become increasingly clear that this virus was not, as scientists at first thought, passed from chimpanzees to mankind, but was probably knowingly developed by doctors and scientists working for the United States government. Graves says that in April 1984, Dr. Robert Gallo filed a United States patent application for his invention, the HIV/AIDS virus. The patent number for the invention is 4647773, details of which can be found at the U.S. patent office website. Dr. Graves. Well, can't find the dude. Maybe it's him. I don't know. I don't see a lot of pictures showing one guy. Dr. Grave is, well, let's just leave it. This article reading, is the AIDS virus man-made? By Larry Jamilson, 1992. According to Grave, the scientific evidence is compelling, he says. The HIV virus was manufactured as a designer byproduct of the U.S. Special Virus Program. The Special Virus Program was a federal virus development program that persisted in the United States from 1962 until 1978. Dr. Robert Gallo's 1971 Special Virus Papers revealed that the United States was seeking a virus particle that would negatively impact the defense mechanism of the immune system. The program sought to modify the genome of the virus, particular in which to splice in an animal wasting disease called Visna. Grave said Dr. Gallo's 1971 Special Virus paper is identical to his 1984 announcement of AIDS, and in 2001 Dr. Gallo conceded his role as project officer for the federal virus development program, the Special Virus. Graves claimed the U.S. Special Virus was added as a complement by vaccine manufacturer Merck to experimental hepatitis B vaccine given to gay men in New York City. This is what the elders said. I think the elders and teachers of GMS said this. It was given on to gay men at first. Cave male gay men. Edomites, so-called Caucasians. Los Angeles and San Francisco, and smallpox vaccine given to blacks in Central Africa during the late 1970s and early 1980s. Shortly thereafter, the world was overwhelmed with mass infections of a human retrovirus that differed from any known human disease. It was highly contagious and it could kill. Boyd Graves now believes that HIV/AIDS is probably an evolutionary laboratory development of the particular Visna virus, first detected in the Icelandic sheep. Graves himself is graduate of Annapolis U.S. Naval Academy and Law School, who in 1992 tested positive for HIV. Today I am hailed as the man who solved AIDS, he said. What many people do not understand is that HIV contains particles of an Icelandic sheep disease, Visna. Visna is from Nazi Germany. It too is man-made. The Supreme Court cause was brought from a lower court, which dismissed the origin of AIDS as a frivolous issue. I do not believe anyone in the world considers the origin of AIDS frivolous. He claimed to have one piece of evidence he is convinced will force the judge to rule in his favor, saying, if that happened to the government will be forced to release all sorts of previously classified researches which prove the real origin of HIV/AIDS. The United States must account to the American people and the people of the world for U.S. Special Virus Program. See, these are the last days, because the Most High said in the last days, the truth shall be revealed. The man of sin shall be revealed. And who's the man of sin? These so-called white people. Okay? It reads, the male who made plagues. Yeah, the man who made plagues. But the caveman is no man. He's a male. In a new report on AIDS, the United Nations Joint Program on HIV/AIDS says that estimated 45 million people worldwide are now living with HIV. UNAIDS executive director Peter Poit said within the first 20 years, 58 million people will become infected and 23 million have been killed by AIDS HIV. So if Boyd E. Graves is to be believed, on June 27, he can try to prove his case in the U.S. federal court. It appears that HIV/AIDS may be a virus that has been manufactured and utilized by weird words by doctors and scientists with the knowledge to cooperate of the with the knowledge and cooperation of the government of the United States of America. If this were to be proved true, two questions emerge. Firstly, for what reason was such a deadly virus intended? Well, it was intended for the so-called Afro-Americans, which is said right here. Graves claims he has hundreds of government documents proving HIV/AIDS was designed as biological terrorism against Afro-Americans. Well, you already got the ID, idiot. Dumbass. Now he's gonna ask himself, why was it made? What a dummy. Anyway, HIV made has been manufactured and utilized by doctors and scientists with the knowledge of cooperation of the government of the United States. If this were to be proven true, two questions emerge. Firstly, for what reasons was such a deadly virus intended? Secondly, according to all the law governing the manufacture, development, and deployment of biological and chemical weapons, was the intention and use of the HIV/AIDS virus by the United States the first act of mass bioterrorism the world has witnessed? And this is the video, and I'm gonna upload the video separately. I'll call it Robert Gallo, the man who created AIDS video. That's what I'm gonna call it. So yeah, I'm gonna call it part 2, and then I'm gonna just put this in, okay? And then I'll put part 2 right here. So with that, all praises go to the Most High Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. And this truth is coming out so greatly, so fastly. I gotta make like multiple videos a day. So with that, double honors unto the elders of great millstones for the teachings, and shalom to all the Akim doing his work in sincerity and in truth. And death to all the false preachers, death to Esau, death to everybody that looks like this. Well, you guys, you got some Israelites that might look like this, but if you ain't down with the truth, death to you. You know what I'm saying? So, whatever. Even if you look like a Jake, and if you think you're an African, man, death to your ass. So with that, shalom.
Historic records prove the secret intensification of the biological weapons race in America make the Soviet efforts pale by comparison. Here to prove it are 3 of the most stunning and condemning documents in biological warfare history. First is a never declassified congressional record of 1969 showing the Department of Defense requested $10 million to develop, quote, synthetic biological agents for germ warfare, end quote, through the National Academy of Sciences, National Research Council, that is, the NAS, NRC. That's nearly half of the amount of money given to all of biological weaponry that year. These new laboratory creations were descriptively and functionally identical to HIV/AIDS. Mind you, this was 15 years before the contested discovery of the AIDS virus by this man, Dr. Robert Gallo, who, as you will see in a minute, oversaw Litton Bionetics, the Army's 6th leading biological weapons contractor at that time. Bionetics also operated the entire administration of the National Cancer Institute's programs at Fort Detrick at that time as well. This private company was a medical subsidiary of the mega military weapons contractor called Litton Industries. Litton's president, Roy Ashe, was Nixon's alternate for the National Security Advisor post he gave to Kissinger. In consolation, the president made Ashe his White House chief of American business and industry. As Roy Ashe was joining the Nixon White House staff, Kissinger ordered Admiral Zumwalt of the Navy to do a reassessment of America's biological weapons capabilities. The Navy has always been at the forefront of such things. Bioweapons were cheaper to make and could be made to target certain people, even certain ethnic groups. There is no doubt that Fort Detrick's sudden cancer focus was part of a greater depopulation plan. According to congressional records and his biographer, Time magazine's managing editor, Walter Isaacson, Kissinger selected the option presented by Admiral Zumwalt to develop AIDS-like and Ebola-like bioweapons, and the contract went to his White House colleague's company, Litton Bionetics. There is now no doubt that Dr. Gallo officiated the development of these AIDS complex viruses. His group at Bionetics combined leukemia, lymphoma, and sarcoma viruses from various species of animals nearly 15 years before he was credited by the Department of Health and Human Services for having discovered the cause of AIDS, a similar retrovirus. They said this would lead to a cure, an AIDS vaccine within 3 years. It never happened. I managed to catch up to Dr. Gallo at the 11th International Conference on AIDS in Vancouver in 1997. I asked him if he was concerned that some of his experiments might have given rise to the AIDS virus, or AIDS virus relatives, that might have contaminated monkeys and chimpanzees shipped by Litton to the Merck's vaccine division in New York for the production of the earliest hepatitis B vaccines. Here is the exchange Dr. Gallo eventually apologized to me for. He was obviously aggravated.
Do you have any concern that your early experiments in taking simian virus 40 in the presence of simian foamy retroviruses and recombining them with cat leukemia and chicken leukemia sarcoma viruses might have given rise to HIV or its relatives following their culture in human tissues, and that these mutants could have contaminated some live viral vaccines produced in contaminated monkeys and chimps supplied to vaccine manufacturers through your affiliates at Litton Bionetics?
Quite frankly, I don't know what the hell you're talking about.
I'll cite your paper, Dr. Gallo.
If you can, you've got a paper. You've got a paper that I don't know I ever published.
Okay.
I'd sure like you to cite it. Would you begin?
I'd be happy to. National Academy of Sciences, 1970, Gallo et al. It was an oral presentation that you presented before NATO and NATO audiences in Mol, Belgium. You published it. It's in the National Academy of Sciences. I'll be happy to show you the paper.
Stop. I mean, this is beyond asinine. In Mol, Belgium, my first trip to Europe, so I can remember it, a NATO meeting did take place. NATO meetings fund all scientific meetings all over the world, even East-West at that time. Biologic meetings, scientific, chemistry meetings, all kinds of meetings. Meetings about motherhood, fatherhood, everything. And what I talked about in Mol, Belgium was in the 1960s, long before gene cloning took place, before I ever worked in virology. What I talked about was cellular transfer RNA. Okay? And that's Mol, Belgium. Proceedings in the National Academy of Science on SV40, I never published a paper in my life on SV40 except the transfer RNA species. In SV40 transformed hamster cells compared to non-transformed cells as a control. You've got pineapples, kiwis, grapes, and cherries mixed in with some other tutti frutti. I don't know what in the hell you're talking about.
And excuse me.
I'm a little tired of this kind of nonsense.
Okay.
Crap.
And Gallo, Sarin et al. Were Lytton bionetics researchers were your co-authors in which you combined cat leukemia and chicken sarcoma viruses to create to evaluate the leukemia
Yes,
sarcoma complex models.
I'm really smart. Yes, we did it. Everything was created by us working in the laboratory. Look, just for those with some little bit of understanding of this, who care about this kind of idea. I've had a lot of things said, but I've never had anything quite like that one. There were people who thought and made postulations that, and it was not actually directed at me, this is a good one, a new one, but that HIV could have been created in laboratory experiments. There are two answers to that are definitive, conclusive, that no scientist could have deliberately created them unless he was a super genius and 10 years ahead of his time. The AIDS virus definitively existed long before molecular cloning. That's point one. Point two, we know the full sequence, the genome of HIV. It was published by our lab in 1985 and by a group from Paris around the same time. The genome has no homology to any known existing virus in the world, except SIV discovered after it. Has nothing to do with cats, has nothing to do with chicken sarcoma viruses. SV40 is a DNA virus that comes from little animals that can transform cells in culture, has no sequences in HIV. Further, we never worked with SV40 with those viruses together, and if we did, the whole thing would be irrelevant. And I think you need to begin with Biology 101 high school, okay?
These documents, including the U.S. government contracts, best explain how AIDS emerged on two far-removed continents in black Africans and gay New Yorkers by 1978. These were precisely the populations that received the first hepatitis B vaccines produced in Lytton's chimpanzees just 4 years earlier. By the way, the man sitting to Dr. Robert Gallo's right is Dr. Jonathan Mann. At the time, Dr. Mann was the AIDS czar for the World Health Organization. Not long after Dr. Mann witnessed my exchange with Gallo, he quit his most esteemed position, saying, quote, "Far more than a medical problem, AIDS is a socio-political imposition."